everything, my money, documents and dresses. I don't know what really sparked the flames. I am still in shock. I burnt my hands while trying to save some of my items. My wife, who had to travel out of Cameroon, her passport got burnt. I lost 1,800,000 francs due to this fire incident. I am currently frankless. I lost everything.
So I don't know me to play with fire. Like you start to take bomb here.
A victim explaining what happened to him in a fire incident that occurred at the Batois neighborhood in Bonaberry, Douala 4 subdivision. And now we talk something else. About 50 people in Ebogo 1, a locality in the town of Yaoundé, are about to be chased out of their lands. According to them, an individual is claiming ownership over several hectares of land which belongs to them. They call on local authorities to do more findings so as to shed more light on the land dispute. Details with Mala Glory.
Burning in anger and rage, locals of Ebogo 1 in Chinga neighborhood, Yaoundé, decry injustice as they are at the verge of losing their lands to an individual who claims to be the rightful owner. And we are surprised that a certain Bumba Messi sent his men to clear the land. They came to my land and cleared off everything, including my farm produce. Everything has been destroyed. And as if that was not enough, he took part of the land and sold to a certain woman. I was only shocked when coming to my farm, I discovered a fence was constructed on the land. The victims say the creation of a road and the construction of a fence on part of the land hinders them to access their own lands and prevents others from entering their homes. We can't even access our land to carry out some works, and we were told they would destroy everything. We don't know what to do. Maybe because the other part has much money than us. Accusing fingers are pointing at Bumba Messi, who on his part rejects the allegations and calls on the victims to confront the one who sold them the land. A situation which the victims describe as injustice on the part of local administrators. They urge the administrators to carry out findings so as to throw more light on the matter. Local authorities in full all know this affair. We have been having court proceedings upon court proceedings, expenses upon expenses. The case is still in court pending judgment. The victims are hoping that justice takes its full course.
And now to one of our major lead stories. Teachers across the nation suspend their strike action for a period of 1 month. The decision was taken by a group of trade unions in Yaoundé on the 9th of January 2024. The teachers addressed a correspondence to the Prime Minister in anticipation that their numerous grievances will be resolved as per the President's end-of-year message. Asia Lucilengu reports.
Few months after the teachers' nationwide strike action, which paralyzed the learning process of students, the gods of the chalk decide to suspend the Dead Chalk movement. The decision was taken by a group of teachers' trade union in Yaoundé on the heels of the President's end-of-year message. To the unnatural supporters, unnatural attendus, and other trade unions, they decided to suspend the strike action not because the President threatened, but because the teachers once again want to prove to the government that they are not in bad faith. Rather, they expect the government to make maximum use of this period to meet up with their demands for a decent salary, amelioration of their working conditions, and the organization of the National Education Forum. The suspension will last for a few weeks to permit the government meet up with its promises. We equally believe that the government will begin implementing the President's decision. The teachers say the government has up to February to meet up with its promises. After the 11th of February, if the government does not react, we will relaunch the strike and maybe harder. The decision on the suspension of the strike action by a group of teachers' trade union is contained in a correspondence addressed to the Prime Minister.
And still on education, the Inclusive Education Project in Cameroon is still faced with a good number of obstacles, hampering its effective implementation several years after its adoption. One of such examples is Government Inclusive Primary School Baminyanga in the Adamawa region, created 9 years ago. The school suffers from insufficient classrooms, benches, teachers, and adopted pedagogic materials. Armstrong Sanda reports.
It has been 9 years already that government practicing school Baminyanga in the Adamawa region of Cameroon got transformed into an inclusive educational establishment. For over those years, the school infrastructure has not been rehabilitated to meet the needs of the physically challenged or special needs educational learners.
Depuis l'arrêté de Madame le ministre de l'Éducation de base,
school officials say that the decision to transform the school into an inclusive educational establishment by the then Minister of Basic Education. Unfortunately, no accompanying decision has followed so far regarding the infrastructure and the pedagogic needs of the school.
Nous acceptions des enfants de toute catégorie au niveau de l'école, toute catégorie.
Beyond that, the school suffers from insufficient classrooms, benches, and adapted pedagogic materials. The many special needs children registered in the school also lack qualified teachers to attend to their needs. The task therefore remains cumbersome to promote and achieve inclusive education across the national triangle. Well embraced and adopted by educational stakeholders in Cameroon, observers say that the effective implementation of inclusive education is still faced with a lot of obstacles across the national triangle.
And now in Koutaba, in the Nous division of the West region of Cameroon, local authorities have urged farmers to add Irish potatoes to their existing crop. However, farmers say it may be a difficult task for them, given that the quality of their soil may not favor the cultivation of Irish potatoes. Right now, let's take a listen to some of the plights raised by farmers in this report done by Cedric Chakutio.
Local authorities in Koutaba, Nous division of the West region, have urged farmers to add Irish potatoes to their existing crops. This is because most farmers in Koutaba are not into the cultivation of Irish potatoes.
Les pommes de terre à Koutaba, on n'en cultive pas parce que on ne s'y connaît pas.
According to the delegate of Agriculture and Rural Development, this is as a result of the non-subvention of Irish potatoes in the Nous division. Farmers are not aware of the crop because of the unavailability of the crop in the Nous division. They are mostly used to cultivate maize, which is mostly consumed in our locality. During a meeting at the mayor's residence which brought together farmers, the authorities encourage the population to massively engage themselves in the cultivation of Irish potatoes, considering the advantages of this crop.
Vous arrivez, vous étalez délicatement au sol.
It is easy, you just have to put it on the ground for it to get a little bit dry, and then you can cultivate it. But be careful, cultivating Irish potatoes is like cultivating tomatoes, they are very fragile.
Un tubercule comme ça revient à combien? Si c'est 600 francs le kilo.
Sur ce, j'encourage nous, les agriculteurs.
I encourage every farmer to cultivate Irish potatoes because it will help us develop the area and create employment.
De lutter contre le chômage et de réduire considérablement les fléaux qui minent notre département.
While waiting to receive their bags of crop, farmers thank the government who has interest in the development of the locality.
And now out of our territory, French President Emmanuel Macron appoints 34-year-old Gabriel Attal as France's Prime Minister. Gabriel Attal's appointment precedes European vote in June. The young PM promises swift action on cost of living in Cameroon. This is seen as impossible, everything being equal, as top leadership positions are occupied by those qualified as old guards. Babila Jonathan talked to a civil society leader and some young people and compiled their views in the following report.
The appointment of a 34-year-old Prime Minister in France, Gabriel Attal, reignites the debate about youth leadership in Cameroon. Chris says there are many young people in Cameroon who can handle the position of Prime Minister and other top government positions, but they are not given the opportunity.
Les jeunes sont capables de beaucoup de choses et en plus, on peut compter sur des jeunes.
Sylvain Camden argues that Cameroonian youths are multi-talented and so should be given the possibility to lead at top positions. But why is this not happening?
C'est souvent les jeunes qui sont attaqués, n'est-ce pas, chaque fois qu'ils veulent élever la voix.
Civil society leader Philippe Nanga thinks the problem is government's repressive actions against youths who dare to take the lead or demonstrate interest in top positions. According to him, arbitrary arrest, torture, detention are some of the factors keeping a majority of the country's youths away from active politics.
La majorité encore reste dans une posture de spectateur.
They are passive and more or less spectators.
Il n'y a pas de pression.
And because of this, there is little or no pressure on the aging leaders. They all agree on the point that the aging top leadership situation in Cameroon has to change.
La nomination d'un premier ministre à 34 ans.
Though, to Philippe Nanga, becoming a prime minister at 34 is impossible in Cameroon under the...
And now we go to our sports page as Cameroon's senior men's football team has arrived in Yamoussoukro to continue with their preparations ahead of the African Nations Cup. Away from that, before coming to Yamoussoukro, the team of Rigobert Song was in camp that is in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, where they played a 1-1 draw against Zambia in a friendly encounter on Tuesday. A reporter on special assignment to Ivory Coast's Maji Kangable was at Yamoussoukro Airport where the players arrived. His report.
Announced for 7:15 a.m. Cameroon time and 8:15 a.m. Yamoussoukro time, it was finally at 9:20 a.m. local time, which is 10:20 a.m. in Cameroon, that the air bus transporting the indomitable lions of Cameroon touched down at the Yamoussoukro airport. Minutes later, Samuel Eto'o stepped out of the plane accompanied by team coach Rigobert Song Bahana, Patrick Mboma, and team captain Vincent Aboubakar. On ground to receive the Cameroonian delegation was Cameroon's ambassador to Ivory Coast, Marie-Yvette Koloko, as all the 26 players on board the flight in turns greeted those who came to the airport. After a brief control on the players at the makeshift VIP suites, all of the players then went on board the car put at their disposal. The presidential hotel in Yamoussoukro will be the base for Rigobert Song and his boys. One of Cameroon's top opponents during the group stage, Senegal, was the first to touch down at the airport in Yamoussoukro. Transported by the national carrier, all players of the Teranga Lions, dressed in white, were received by Senegalese authorities based in Yamoussoukro. Amongst the players for the Teranga Lions was recently wedded Sadio Mane, who didn't have time for honeymoon. Senegal had their first training session this Wednesday at the annex of the Charles Konan Banning Stadium of Yamoussoukro, and they share the same hotel with the indomitable Lions of Cameroon.
On the same vein, Cameroonian supporters who are at the Yamoussoukro airport believe that the Indians are eyes and ears in Yamoussoukro. Let's watch in this report.
The Yamoussoukro airport witnessed a handful of supporters of the national football team, the indomitable Lions, who came to welcome the 5 times African champions as they touched down. These supporters were already showing off a prototype of the AFCON trophy.
Yes, I'm very confident that the indomitable Lions of Cameroon are going to go back home with the 6th trophy. Yes. And so this is just a prototype. Yes. So we are going to take it back home.
According to this staunch Lions supporter, if the Lions are not able to repeat the history of 1984 when they won their first trophy, they will use force to get it back home.
If for some reason we don't win it, we have Francis Ngannou.
If security forces were able to contain the supporters of the Indomitable Lions this Wednesday, it wasn't the same scenario we experienced during the arrival of the reigning African champions, the Teranga Lions of Senegal. Several supporters of the Teranga Lions who came to welcome the team were forced to stay out of the airport, dispersed at both ends of the main way into the Yamoussoukro airport. The supporters were also confident of returning to Senegal with the trophy which they won in Cameroon in 2022.
And still on news connected to what's happening in Ivory Coast, football fans are now preoccupied with getting tickets that will grant them access to different stadia for them to watch live matches of the African Nations Cup. Many who were at the Makoni Center where tickets are being sold expressed their determination to watch their teams perform. Cedric Chakutio reports on the turnout of football fans in the different ticket centers.
AFCON 2023 in Ivory Coast, Makoni is the center chosen for the selling of tickets. Here, the center is full of individuals who wish to have a ticket so as to watch matches live. Football fans mostly come to buy tickets for the match opposing Cameroon and Senegal.
Je suis venu chercher mon ticket pour le match Égypte-Mozambique qui sont vendus ici.
Je suis venu acheter les tickets de...
I came to have a ticket for the match Cameroon versus Senegal and also for the match opposing Ghana and Egypt. Supporters also come to buy tickets of the match that will oppose Côte d'Ivoire and Nigeria, a match highly anticipated. I came for Côte d'Ivoire, Nigeria, but I'm told tickets are over, so I have to go elsewhere. It is a match I must watch. To have a match ticket, the process is very easy.
Lorsqu'on a un client qui désire avoir le ticket d'un match,
when we have an individual who wishes to have it,
aussi qui sort à l'écran sur l'ordinateur.
Once he scans the QR code, CAF withdraws the money and his ticket is directly given to him. We personally do not touch the money.
Quand le ticket sort, on lui remet.
To have a ticket, one has to spend at least 3,000 francs depending on the category.
Transportation fare within Yamoussoukro won't witness an increase as a result of the African Nations Cup. A taxi driver within Yamoussoukro, Yao Kauku, made a declaration as he discussed with our special envoy to Ivory Coast, Smaji Kangebel, in this report. Have a watch.
A unique color of white and marked with the orange and green colors that constitutes the flag of Ivory Coast, taxis in the town of Yamoussoukro are gradually preparing for the influx of visitors coming to their country as a result of the African Nations Cup. Owing to the fact that the tournament kicks off in a matter of days, transportation is one of the sectors that will generate revenue for the Ivorians. On a trip with Yao Kwaku, a taxi driver in Yamoussoukro, he made us to understand that till now, though a member of the drivers' trade union in Yamoussoukro, no precise instructions have been given to them about the AFCON. At that level, I don't have anything to say since I don't have an information about it. We have a trade union, but no formal information has been given to us on how to treat visitors coming in for the AFCON. Talking about the cost of transportation during this period when football supporters will be trooping into Ivory Coast, he told us that the fare depends on your pickup points, that no changes have been done on transportation fare because of the tournament. Transportation cost depends on your destination and where we pick you up. Generally, we do our prices according to the neighborhood that we pick you. It ranges from 200 to 1,000 francs. Notwithstanding the different transportation fares, Yao Kwaku says he will be at the service of visitors coming to his country. The AFCON is in my nation, Ivory Coast. So I am so pleased to receive all visitors. I will make their stay comfortable and transport them to wherever they want to go. Inhabitants of Yamoussoukro are now counting days before the kickoff of the 34th edition of the African Nations.
And that sports element all the way from Yamoussoukro put an end to today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Thank you so much, viewers, for your keen attention. Have a blessed evening in the company of more interesting programs on ETV.